Alright guys, Tactical Bit back again today, hopefully enjoying your Sunday so far, and today we just have to talk about this Seattle lineup. Yesterday was day 2 of their own home series. It didn't go so well for them. We'll have to discuss in coming days as well what could potentially be done with this team, but it didn't go great for them yesterday for a number of reasons that we will discuss, and it does look like, we talked a few weeks ago now about how Optic Gaming, some of their tweets, like they'd almost like given up in terms of succeeding with that squad. Looks kind of similar for Seattle right now, and I'm not really sure what the next step should be. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like if you do, subscribe if you're new as always. Smash the like button on the video for my 21st birthday, which is today, so it's come around kind of quick. Unfortunately, we're in lockdown, but you know, it is what it is. Let's hop right into things then. First of all, big thanks to Cam Allen also for the scoreboards you're going to see throughout this one. So the first series of the day was Rokkr versus the Chicago Huntsmen in that winners quarterfinals, and Chicago win this one on a pretty comfortable 3-0. Rokkr once again losing some incredibly close maps. Like their last series they lost was a 3-0 to the New York Subliners. They lost 250-249, 6-5, and then 159-150. This series, the first two maps, like maybe Chicago should have won map 1 by a little bit more, but then Rokkr were up like 5-3 in the surge. Alex had a pretty crazy like clutch early on, and then Huntsmen bring it back and win in a 6-5 fashion. And then the domination they kind of just run away with, right? So Pristini looking more and more comfortable in the squad as they go on here. Impressive win against the Rokkr for sure, but Rokkr didn't really have the best weekend. They haven't been playing the best for a while now, and especially their clutch factor seems to just have gone down the drain. Like if there's a close match, you're expecting Rokkr to lose right now, unfortunately to say, and it does seem like their place as like the 4th place team in the game, I think has definitely been overtaken now, but we'll have to talk in coming days at who exactly has taken that place. Maybe a squad like Optic Gaming, right, you could argue right now, given how things have gone over the last couple of weeks. So these were the overall standings. Like Assault goes even, but Godorex didn't have a great series here, and pretty much the slaying across the board from Huntsman was impressive. Former with a 1.4, Pristini bounced back with a nice 1.14 series in this one, so had a pretty rough series to start the tournament off yesterday, or the day before, and then yesterday against the Rokkr, he comes out swinging. They make it to Championship Sunday in a pretty damn comfortable fashion, only losing a single map. Then we have Subliners Royal Ravens. This was an interesting series, right? Because Trey Zero Morris going up against his former team in New York, which they dropped, right? Which they, you know, dropped him earlier on in the season. So a bit of a grudge match, I suppose, even though Zero, I don't really think thinks it that way as far as what he's talked about. But yeah, Royal Ravens put on a clinic this series, and I was really impressed with them, especially after yesterday's kind of rough, like slow start against the Los Angeles Guerrillas. Map 1 was 250-180, but it was not as close as this makes it seem. Royal Ravens were dominant really from start to finish. And this was the first series I've seen that Wuskin has just had to do nothing, right? Zero had a 1.4, Dylan had like a 1.1, they were both going off. Map 1 and 2, I mean, it was all Gunrunner. But like map 1 and 2 were just not particularly close. Royal Ravens always felt like they were in control of it. And then game 3, Royal Ravens had a pretty comfortable performance in the domination as well, all things considered. So a really impressive 3-0 against a strong New York Subliners squad. And I was talking about Royal Ravens hopefully being the dark horse that was going to do something this weekend. It does seem like that is the case. I mean, Zero with a 1.4. Like Wuskin, have you ever seen him at a 0.7 and they win a series this comfortably, right? Like that's what you're talking about if you're a London fan. And Dylan, of course, having a fantastic series, especially in the respawns, and yeah, Zero just dominating all series long. So impressed how this team seems to have got themselves together pretty quickly, but they've got a tough Championship Sunday ahead of them. And before we go on to the Seattle stuff, Optic Gaming Los Angeles versus the Paris Legion. This started off as a very interesting series with the 250-175 for Paris. I think Luca had like a 40 bomb this map, but then it's slasher time, right? Like he turns it on, he flips the switch, goes a 14 bomb in the search and destroy to win it in a 6-4 fashion. Then they win the last 2 respawns as well, with another clutch victory here on the Ramazza hardpoint. They seem to be great at doing this, Optic Gaming, winning these 250, 240, you know, Ramazza hardpoint and other hardpoints as well, winning the close one. So impressive from Optic. Once again, they lose game 5 in the very first round of the tournament, as they did at the Florida home series. At Florida, they then went 3-0-3-0 on Paris and London. This time they go 3-1 on Paris, and we'll have to see how their second series goes on in a little bit later today. But yeah, this is how the series went. Slasher with a 1.4. I mean, Dashi, like we've heard his talks yesterday about like that 120 ping, difficult situation he's dealing with online, but he drops a 0.8 and you win a 3-1 series. Like that's pretty good sign for Optic Gaming, right? And Kenny has a great series as well. So yeah, they're really coming into their stride lately, and it's good to see. at least for the competitiveness of the league. So then let's talk about this Seattle series. This was where my mind was blown. Enable talks about this earlier in the day. I wish I could express my frustration on the situation this year, but I will not be playing today. So yesterday, Surge played against the Subliners. They got smoked, right? Enable had like a 0.62 or something, pretty poor series. They subbed him out for Panda in the Search and Destroy. And then today they decided, Enable, we've had enough. You're out the team again. And I just find this incredible in terms of a business decision, right? Because Enable is someone who's spent months out of the team. You bring him back for literally one series, as I say here. They played him for 2 events. They benched him. They brought him back. They give him one series against a pretty solid Subliners squad who you could argue are top 6 in the game and have made the top 4 once again at this event. And then you bench him again, right? And especially the player they benched him for is Panda, not a player who you're expecting to just flip the switch and like go lights out for the rest of the tournament. And I don't know, like I'm intrigued to hear your thoughts down below, but yeah, like bringing Enable back for one series, okay, he had a poor series, right? But you're going to bench him this early on into the tournament again, just seems incredibly disrespectful to me. And you think, what do you think Enable thinks, right? Like he's played one series, didn't have a great series, but remember that series that Panda had a 0.48 a while ago? Like players have bad series, especially their first one back in a proper tournament environment with the team, and you're just going to bench him straight away. Just seems like there's no way Enable now wants to come back into the starting lineup, right? The way this team has been handled and the way it's run. And I'm sure he has a little bit of a smug grin on his face given what happens next in that the LAG then played up against Seattle Surge. They've beaten, so Seattle Surge of 0-11 against any other team in the CDL, but they were 4-0 against the LAG with and without Enable, right? So this series you thought, okay, Seattle Surge, they're going to farm another 10 points, but it doesn't go that way. And LAG just, yes, okay, the maps were kind of close in terms of the respawns, but like LAG just crushed them, to be honest, especially in the Search and Destroy. The 1v2 from Blast was like just a nail in the coffin, right? They do win the domination, but yeah, losing all the respawn while losing, 2 of the hard points to a team like LAG, if you're Seattle Surge, who've been pretty decent in the respawns, is just like frankly embarrassing, right? Like, and Seattle Surge just have to have a look in the mirror and just think, what is going on right now, and what moves could we even possibly try and make? And there were some tweets from some of the players that we'll go on to discuss here. So their series didn't go great, and as Slack says, we didn't scrim for 2 weeks trying to get a new 5th, come to find out it's impossible, then we try Enable for a week because it can't get any worse, and it got way worse. I think we went 6-32 in scrims leading up to this. Yes, the effort fully wasn't there, but we were so far behind. And, we don't even play the game correct. So I think the thought process here is that they were trying to get a fast player like a Pristini or something into the squad. They couldn't do it due to salary cap or due to, him wanting to go to Chicago or something like that. But for some reason, they didn't scrim it while that was going on. Like, you remember, Huntsman, they scrimmed with General as a placeholder. Slacked and Seattle have Proto on the bench if they wanted to bring him in, who's also a fast, aggressive SMG player. Could have been the perfect placeholder if they were trying to get someone like Pristini. And maybe that would have worked for them, but I don't think they played him at all. And yeah, some other tweets from Apathy, we had no one to practice with, etc, etc. Octane legitimately don't want to play anymore, so just not a good situation, right? Like, this team is crumbling internally, and losing to LAG, just a final nail in the coffin, right? A team that you'd expect them to beat, and LAG just stick to Almond Milk. So yeah, they're having a bit of a dig at things, but yeah, Seattle Surge just in a tough spot. And I remember this tweet here from Slacks: GG's LAG, nothing new, another 25-min series, 3-0 guys are horrible last month. And how things have changed, right? So I'm really intrigued to hear your thoughts on how exactly they can go going forwards, because this team is an absolute disaster. And you can see Octane once again with a 1.3, no slaying from the rest of the guys. This team just may be chalked for the rest of the year. Who knows what move they can even try and make. But Proto's probably sitting there on the bench thinking, you need a fast, aggressive SMG player that's kind of inconsistent, like Pristini. I'm your guy, right? So yeah, honestly, just incredible. We'll have to go on to the last couple of series for the day here, because Optic get the rematch against Minnesota Rokkr. And as I predicted in my prediction video, I said that Minnesota Rokkr would win the first series in a Game 5 fashion, and Optic would come back to beat them. They do exactly that, winning the first map in another incredibly close hardpoint. Like, Rokkr just threw this one away. It's honestly incredible how Optic managed to make this comeback. 250-241. Rokkr, just the amount of close maps they lose is just beyond belief sometimes. Then they close out the Search and Destroy and Arcloth Peak. Really comfortable map for Optic right now. and then they win a domination as well. So comfortable 3-0 for Optic Gaming Los Angeles to make it through to Sunday. They go down to losers, and then just they flip a switch, right? And you can see this from Slasher, man. Like, he was talking about the 100 ping situation yesterday. He had a 1.4 in the series we looked at earlier against Paris, a 1.6 in this one, and the strength and the rest of the guys was solid as well. You're not going to beat that, right? And Slasher in the search and in the hardpoint and in the domination, like, this guy was on another level this series, and I'm expecting to see similar form when he gets to Championship Sunday, right? Because Slasher against the best teams in the game on a Championship Sunday, that tends to be where you get his best form, right? So it's going to be an exciting prospect, probably a very competitive day ahead of us. And then the final series of the day was the LAG, who had just beaten the Seattle Surge up against the New York Subliners. And this just goes to show that, like, Seattle are just in such a poor state, right? Because LAG, they looked pretty solid against London. They won the hard points, right, against a team like Seattle Surge, which earlier in the season you wouldn't really have expected to happen. But here we go, right? Subliners beat them in there in the hard points as well. 251-91, and then the second one, 251-87. Like, LAG did win the search and destroy, as happens quite often. They're pretty solid in search, especially on this Arcov peak, but all the respawns go to Subliners. The fact that LAG took 2 respawns off Seattle Surge, like, it's just not looking good, right? So LAG bow out, Subliners move on, and yeah, these were the overall series standings here. Attach, Mack with a good series as well. So yeah, good stuff from Subliners, but at the end of the day, you're expecting them to beat LAG before, for sure, and the only reason why LAG, I think, made it through is just because, like, Seattle are just in such an abysmal state as a team right now. So let's discuss here the semi-finals for today. I predicted these 4 teams to make it, but I predicted it the other way around because I thought that Subliners would make it out of winners and Royal Ravens would make it out of losers. We've got Royal Ravens Optic, Chicago, New York Subliners, and both these series are really incredible. I don't really know who to pick because Optic Gaming are in an absolute, like, they're on a tear right now. Definitely see a Game 5 happening up top, and I wouldn't be surprised if it happens down low. If it does go Game 5, I think the Huntsman will get the better of the Subliners. I do think the Subliners have the potential to win it in a 3-1 fashion by winning the hard points in the respawns, but I honestly am just going to predict that both of these go Game 5, Huntsman win it from the lower bracket, and then, like, I still want to pick Royal Ravens, given that I predicted them before the tournament to win the series, to win the whole thing. I'm going to go with Royal Ravens to win a Game 5, Huntsman are going to win a Game 5, and then Ravens are going to win it in a Game 5 in the Grand Final. You know, Huntsman, if it does go Game 5 in the Grand Final, Huntsman are probably the more clutch team, but at the end of the day, like, I have to support the prediction I made earlier on in the weekend. So this is the schedule for tonight. 3 p.m. Eastern time, we get this Warzone weekend thing kicks off. 4 p.m. Eastern, that's 1 p.m. Pacific. 9 p.m. my time, we get the first series, Royal Ravens Optic Gaming, and it finishes off later in the day as well. This is a kind of cool thing to keep your eyes on as well. Starting tomorrow, you can earn in-game rewards while watching the CDL. I think you have to watch it on the Companion app or on the CDL website, something like that. You connect your Activision account, and then you can earn rewards like in-game drops and stuff like that. So it's going to be pretty cool to see how prevalent they are. So yeah, intrigued to hear your thoughts in the comment section below on this one. Like if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're new. As always, I would greatly appreciate it. Seattle, we're going to have to talk about them more in coming days because who knows what the step is from here, especially if the management isn't particularly keen due to, like, salary cap and stuff to get other players into the organization. You know, it's just a downhill spiral, right, given the names on this team. It's pretty remarkable to see. So yeah, thanks for watching, stay safe, I'll see you next time.